So Candy Maldonado trying to add to a 2-0 Dodger lead. Maldonado flied to right and struck out 0 for 2. Bill Madlock has scored both runs for the Dodgers. And a bunt by Maldonado. Henlon to the plate, hit his pitcher. He hit Tudor. Tudor was trying to cut across, and the throw hit Tudor.
You talk about a Halloween inning. Look how disgusted John is. A surprise bunt. Henlon can only make a play at the plate, and there it hits him right in the middle of the back.
Valenzuela, who had won 17 during the regular season, went 6 1/3 innings, struck out a half a dozen, and did his job to help the Dodgers win Game 1. Tonight, it's 21-game winner Joaquin Andujar against 19-game winner Orel Hershiser. Game 2 on the line. A beautiful time of day in Southern California, and welcome to Dodger Stadium. Game 2 of the National League Championship Series between the St. Louis Cardinals and the Los Angeles Dodgers. Hi, everybody. I'm Vin Scully. Along with Joe Garagiola, the Dodgers suddenly find themselves 1-up and a 19-game winner who doesn't lose here on the mound.
And pride, I think, is the big thing. The Dodgers, of course, they showed their fans why they are where they are. And the Cardinals, they came here with a great reputation of a lot of speed, good defense. And last night, the Dodgers just took both of them away. The Dodgers really did the Cardinals game of running, and defensively, we even had a man-bite-dog story when Ozzie Smith made that play.
You know, you talk about statistics going into the series, the Dodgers with the power and the Cardinals with the lack of power. Maybe part of the Dodger running game was an indication that they are not expecting any power from Pedro Guerrero.
That could be, and it's also a message, the Cardinals from the Dodgers, you're not going to run us out of the ballpark, and if you're not careful, we'll run you out of the ballpark. So if the Cardinals do get on, I do look for them to run. The Dodgers are not known for speed. I mean, Madlock and Guerrero stealing bases and Maldonado bunting. I've seen times on the different runners, like Vince Coleman, 7.1 seconds from home to second base. I don't think I've ever seen a time on Maldonado or Madlock.
No, unless they use a calendar.
Yeah.
In looking at the pitching, John Tudor lost last night. He was the best of the staff. Andujar is a 20-game winner, the first to win 20 in the National League. But his last 9 starts very, very shaky. Meanwhile, Orel Hershiser has won 19. He's undefeated in Dodger Stadium, and his last 8 starts have been brilliant. Quite a contrast.
And Fernando set the pace. Get ahead of those hitters, then you can throw breaking balls, and Coleman and McGee you can really neutralize with breaking balls.
Well, we'll find out all about it right on the other side of this.
Hi, I'm Mike Sosha of the Dodgers. A lot of people have been making saying a lot about the first 2 hitters in the Cardinals, Coleman and McGee, and it's true, they're probably the catalyst for the Cardinals, but there's a lot more to the Cardinals team than just those 2 guys, and if we get those 2 guys out, it makes it a lot easier, but there's 7 guys in that lineup who will run, and you sandwich them around Jack Clark, and you've got a tough lineup, so we can't just worry about keeping Coleman and McGee off the bases and think that we'll win. We've got to control the whole Cardinals lineup, and that's why they're in the playoffs, because they have a great offensive club.
There is a defense for the Dodgers. Guerrero Landro will be in center field tonight. Marshall is in right field. Madlock, Duncan, Sachs, Brock in the infield, Sosha and Hershiser, the battery. And the 2 men to key on with Hershiser pitching, I think, will be Duncan at shortstop and Sachs at second base, because they are loaded with left-hand hitters. The Cardinals are, so the ground balls will be going to either one of those 2 fellas. If Hershiser has his good stuff, you'll see a couple of things, a lot of ground balls and some broken bats.
Well, we'll also take a good look at Orel Hershiser as he'll be pitching to Vince Coleman, Willie McGee, and Tommy Herr. All of Hershiser's 3 defeats came on the road, and they all came within a 1-month span. June 8th at Atlanta, the 26th of June at San Diego, and July 7th in St. Louis. Interestingly, last night, John Tudor's only loss since May came against the Dodgers. In the middle of July, when the Dodgers Dodgers and Cardinals met in a 4-game series here at Dodger Stadium. The Dodgers managed to win 3 out of 4. One reason, they struck out Vince Coleman 7 times. There's a line drive base hit. So where they struck him out once last night and McGee 3 times, he now gets the base hit, and now we're going to find out what it's all about.
That we are. As far as the move, Hershiser, he has a good move, but when he delivers the ball, it's a big arm drop in the back, and his go to first base may give him a little bit of time. I got to believe he's going. It's just a matter of first or second pitch, man, and let's see what Socia will do.
One thing Hershiser will do is hold the ball a long time, longer than usual. What he hopes to do, not so much with Coleman as with McGee. Some runners have a tendency, if the pitcher sets and holds the ball, the runner has a tendency to almost sink and drop and come down off the balls of his feet. And that was very close.
He'll also change the tempo. Throw there quick, not as quick, that kind of tempo. He's got a good lead.
110 stolen bases, and Hershiser's off the rubber. Earlier this year, David Palmer of Montreal threw over to first base, actual count 13 times. And then when he finally pitched, Coleman stole second, and then for good measure, he stole third. And he gets back and just does.
He had intentions of going, and we kind of watched yesterday. Joe Morgan, who did a great job on the pregame show, talked about how Coleman, when he takes that lead, lifts that front foot. He kind of twitched in there. The ball got there, but it was not really what you'd call an accurate throw, but you're lucky when you get it that close.
And he bluffs, and the pitch is strike. I was going to ask you something. Hershiser is basically a sinker ball pitcher. Now, if Socia tries to cheat and come up out of the crouch too early, he's in danger of having a sinker ball get away.
And maybe tip the bat. Socia has done something that's helped him. He waits for that ball. He catches it close to his body, doesn't reach out for it. Be careful now.
0-1.
We go along and try to explain a little bit what I mean by that is if you reach out for the ball and get it, then you got to bring it back to you, and you lose that split second. It's the difference.
He's already thrown over to first base 5 times, and he's made 1 pitch to the plate, and it's getting closer all the time, it would seem. Rock unable to hold on to it.
But it's also his best move. He's diving back now and just does miss him under the tag. McSherry right on top of that play. That was his best move. Coleman knows he's got him measured. So, I mean, the trap has been set. Coleman's got his starting blocks up, and the battle is on, and we're still into the first hitter.
1 strike on Willie McGee. You know, in comparing during 1985, the Cardinals stole 17 out of 23 attempts against the Dodgers, and the Dodgers had a better ratio. They stole 12 out of 14 against the Cardinals.
McGee is a perfect second-place hitter. He is just watching it like the rest of us are, not really getting out of kilter.
0-1. Socia cheating off the bag. He was ready to throw. He was hanging off the corner.
He pitched out, and he started to go, and Coleman must have seen the tempo. Now that the guts comes in, will he double pitch out? Because you'd almost bet the house that he's going to go on this one. Now, he starts to go here, and he's going, and now something happened. The tempo sometimes, he says pitch out, warning sign.
1 ball, 1 strike. Boy, that was close.
If I was Socia, I'd be looking at that bench, and he may have gotten a sign to pitch out again because Coleman has really been working over there. He wants to go. The Cardinals want to show the Dodgers that, hey, you did our game last night. We're going to do our own game.
And there he goes. Pitch is outside, and the throw got him.
And Duncan may have gotten tagged.
He did. Duncan is spiked. Timeout.
It was a straight-in slide, and Socia really had something on that throw. Watch that front foot. There it is, lifted up, just like Morgan said, straight up. He's got the head down now, not in the sprinter's run. A straight-in slide. Throw is there in plenty of time. And there you see it's the left leg against Duncan's left leg. That throw was on the shortstop side of the bag, but he had enough on it. Watch Socia get that ball and really gun it here. That's as hard as he can throw the ball. He put something on it.
And that left leg is chopped up pretty well by the left leg of Vince Coleman. And he is obviously in pain and is now surrounded by his teammates. And, of course, as we take another look at the eyes of Vince Coleman. You know what this reminds me of?
What?
Really and truly?
Yeah.
Your constant complaint. The catcher gets hit by a foul ball, and the umpires. Right. Here's a guy lying down in blood out there, and we're looking at Coleman for the 18th time.
That's right. That's right. And Coleman, the straight-in slide.
Meanwhile, Duncan's right in the emergency ward.
Yeah, there, he's kind of stepping all over him right there as they tangle. Scioscia really made a hard throw. It was not that accurate a throw, and I thought when I saw the ball going to the shortstop side he wouldn't get him, but the throw was hard enough. He had enough on it. Got him.
Now we got another tough Dominican.
Oh, yeah. Another tough guy. All of them.
Well, Duncan is going to play. It'll be interesting to see as we look at Vince Coleman down in the dugout along with Ivan de Jesus and others. Be interesting whether Duncan's range has been cut down. So 1 out and the count, 2 balls and 1 strike to Willie McGee.
Well, you would have bet he was going to go after the pitch out. Scioscia went after him and really made a good throw.
Fouled away, 2-2. So in other words, Hershiser made 8 pitches to first base and then came to the plate 6 times.
That's the first time that Scioscia's been able to get Coleman. Coleman lists the tough catchers as far as getting him, and you'd be surprised at that list, Vin.
2-2, and off speed for ball 3. You don't get Coleman that much, but he was caught 25 times in the regular season.
He says Pena's the toughest, Terry Kennedy, Jody Davis, Yeager, and listen to this one, Razor Shines.
3-2, ground ball to the left, and Duncan kicks it, recovers, forget all about it. So Mariano Duncan, unable to handle that hot potato.
Batting third, number 28, second baseman.
Last night we had pointed out the fact that the Cardinals had committed the fewest number of errors and the Dodgers the most. And yet it was the Cardinal error that turned out to be the killer. Now let's see about Duncan's inability to handle that ground ball, and he draws an error.
Let's see with McGee on now. Scioscia's going to have maybe another chance here, and this can answer a lot of questions because Coleman was gunned out. Now McGee is on, and Her is a good disciplined hitter.
And McGee, remember, stole 56 during the regular season. Ball 1, 1-0. I think people are still wondering and waiting for you to drop the other shoe about Razor Shine.
Well, he got him in the minor leagues when he was trying for his 100th, because when he said Razor Shines, I said, the guy at Montreal, he says, yeah, Razor got me and got me easily.
1 ball and no strikes to count. Tommy Her, the batter, 1 away. McGee at first. Then we'll keep an eye again, just like Hershiser, on a man who has stolen 56. He stole 4 times successfully, stealing 3rd. 1-0. McGee goes, pitch out. Scioscia to Sachs. He is really hung out to dry. To Brock. Live by the sword, die by the sword.
Joe Amalfitano calls the pitch outs, and you can see that coming. And they have answered the question, both Coleman and McGee getting on and being gunned down. And Willie knows that he's in no man. He's watching to see like it's a hit and run play. Didn't have his head down like Coleman. And now here he is in no man's land, and forget about it.
Boy, he did the best to slither back to the bag. So with 2 out on 2 attempted steals, that's enough to get your attention at the outset. And for Whitey Herzog, it has to come as somewhat of a shock. And the count to Tommy Her, 2-0. Fouled away, 2-1.
Much like Roger Craig over at Detroit last year, as we look at Scioscia, who's given the Dodgers a big lift, Joey Amalfitano is the one who calls the signs, the pitch-out signs over here, and with Coleman on, Scioscia called for a pitch-out, didn't go, and then got him on a good pitch to handle. This was a straight pitch-out.
2-1 to count. Ball 3. If you joined us late, Coleman singled to center and was thrown out. Socia to Duncan, who was spiked but stayed in the game. McGee aboard on Duncan's error, and then Lasorda saw McGee on a pitch out cut down from Socia to Sachs to Brock. A drive into left center, and it is a tweener and goes to the wall. Guerrero plays the hop back in, and Tommy Hurt doubles, and it shows you how important those first 2 outs were. And it also sums up what Socia was saying. Yeah, it's one thing to keep Coleman and McGee off the base paths, but don't let down, and here they come. A double by her, and Jack Clark the batter.
Hershiser with that good sinker has to get the ground ball. He got the ground ball from McGee. This one was pretty well hit.
Tommy Hurt, should be pointed out, hit about .333 against Hershiser during the regular year. Jack Clark, on the other hand, was 0 for 8 going head-to-head with Hershiser. One ball and no strikes. Hershiser, fastball, breaking ball. He also throws that split-fingered fastball as a changeup. Once in a while, he'll fall in love with his breaking ball, and they have to go out and remind him to throw the fastball more. 1-1. That's a strike. Bruce Fleming is the plate umpire. John McSherry at first. Terry Tata at second. Paul Runge at third. Jerry Crawford on the foul line in left. Dick Stello on the foul line in right. In the dirt, and immediately Fleming will throw it out and put a new one in. We mentioned that last night. It's one of the things about Dodger Stadium. If the ball is in the dirt, the umpire will throw it out.
It's that red clay mark on there, and when it comes up, it looks like a barber pole. Pitchers would love to keep it in the game.
3-1 the count to Jack Clark. Fastball. 3-2. Fastball, got him. Boy, what an inning. 2 men thrown out, and Hershiser strikes out Clark. And at the end of half an inning, Cardinals nothing, Dodgers coming up. Here's the way the Dodgers stack up offensively. Mariano Duncan nicked at second, but he'll lead off at short. Kenny Landreau returns to the starting role in center field, and Bill Madlock at third. Pedro Guerrero heavily taped in left field, and Mike Marshall around in right. Mike Socia, who has been so visible in the first inning behind the plate. Greg Brock, who handled all those pickoff throws to first. Steve Sachs at second, and the pitcher Orel Hershiser.
Defensively, it's Coleman, McGee, and Van Slyke, 3 guys who played center field coming to the major leagues, so they'll cover a lot of ground. In the infield is Pendleton, Smith, Hurt, Clark, the battery Andujar, and Porter. And Porter will have to be thrown out some people or get the opportunity. And the key guy on that Cardinal ball club as far as the infield, Ozzie Smith. Last night, a ball, it was ruled a double, and we thought it was an error. I tell you, I never saw so much hoopla on one ball, but then again, when you get paid to field like he does, and the spotlight is going to be a little bit brighter, so if there's anything near him, he's going to be grabbing it tonight.
Great line to remember. Good is not good where better is expected, and that applied to Ozzie Smith last night, and that's why it was such a shock. Mariano Duncan facing Joaquin Andujar. Now, he won 3 games. He won 2 games in the World Series of '82. He won 20 games each of the last 2 years. In his 21 victories this year, the Cardinals averaged 7 runs a game. He won by scores of 14-4, 14-0, 11-10. He had himself quite a year. Strike.
Psychologically, Vin, it's an opportune time for Duncan to bunt. The Cardinals, I'm sure, even out in the field right now, are thinking, can you believe that? Coleman and McGee both getting thrown out.
Strike 1 pitch. They shorten up the corners, and that's going to be hit just beyond the Cardinal dugout. 0-2. Duncan, with his speed and with the infield in motion, has 3 bunt doubles this year. But Clark now, with 2 strikes, has gone back, and Pendleton, who is playing on a bad left leg, he had a cyst removed and was almost a doubtful starter, but he made it at third. It didn't appear to be that close, but this is twilight daylight time, and it's tough to see.
And it's also the reputation. Andujar has that reputation, rightly so or not. That's a good pitch, high and tight, nothing wrong with it. And one of the things they say that Andujar's having trouble is that the hitters don't fear him anymore. And if you got too close, he'd move you back, and he started to do that tonight.
You know, he was the first man in the majors to reach 20 victories on the 23rd of August, but he only won 1 of his last 9 starts. So he really wants to turn things around tonight. 2-2. He was 2-0 against the Dodgers, and lifetime 6-10. Ground ball to Pendleton. 1 away, and the big thing was to watch Duncan run, and he appeared to be okay. After being nicked by the spikes of Vince Coleman, it looked like Duncan was all right.
Here you'll get a good look at it. He tries to go to the opposite field. In fact, it looked like he thought he had a base hit. Now he sees Pendleton come up with it, and he kind of lets out. He watched the play pretty much himself. May have lost a little bit of speed, but I don't think he would have beaten it out anyhow.
So that question might be answered. Duncan is okay. 1 out, and here's Kenny Landreau. Hit foul down the line, out of play. Landreau, a pinch hitter last night, fly to center.
Just a note on Andujar. There's not much finesse with Joaquin. I mean, he is a hard thrower. It's a 3-quarter delivery. He'll sidearm you both with his fastball and his curve, and you just simply call him a power pitcher who challenges the hitters.
0-1. 1 ball and 1 strike. With all of his glistening credentials, in a sense, you just wonder whether Andujar, if he does not pitch well tonight, considering the fact he has struggled in his last 9 starts, whether he would get a second shot or not, or whether use Bob Force. 2-1. Missed with the fastball, ball 3. 3-1. He has walked as many as 6 in a game. He's done that twice. His high in strikeouts, 6. And probably his best game. He went 11 innings against San Diego in July. Cardinals won the game 2-1 in the 12th. 3-2. That hit Landreau on the foot.
Andujar never wears a sweatshirt. I mean, it's ideal here for him, but I remember in Montreal when we were up there, everybody's coming out with jackets and heavy sweatshirts, not Joaquin.
And of course, the temperature here in Los Angeles was in the 80s today. It is a beautiful evening. In contrast, Landreau almost always wears a long sleeve shirt. Strike 3, punched him out on the corner.
Batting third, number 52.
So 2 out in the first inning, and the batter, Bill Madlock.
Porter moved out there, and he really hit the spot. You could see him just kind of shift out there and frame that pitch.
Bill Madlock went 1 for 4 last night. Big chopper foul outside and down the line. We'll pause briefly for station identification. This is the NBC Television Network.
KTHI TV 11, Fargo, Grand Forks.
This night. What makes it interesting is he has stolen 8 bases since he came to the Dodgers. That's foul. But here's the point. He has stolen 8 bases since he put on a Dodger uniform. In his last 3 years with the Pittsburgh Pirates, he stole 9. Oh, good, mean sidearm breaking ball. That's why they call it public enemy number 1. And at the end of an inning, no score. Second inning, no score. And the Cardinals showing what they were intent on doing. Both Coleman and McGee trying to steal, each cut down. And despite a double by Her, he was left. So now it's Andy Van Slyke, Terry Pendleton, and Darrell Porter. It will be interesting when we get down to Andujar's spot, because the Cardinals feature 5 switch hitters that we know of. It just depends on what Andujar decides to do. Will he go up there and hit left-handed, consequently exposing that valuable right arm where it would be in danger of being hit by a pitch or not?
No, one thing, the catchers give him a lot of room because that backswing of his, he's liable to clonk you.
1-0 to Andy. And he drives it to right and deep. Marshall a full turn to the track and makes the catch. Boy, that's a big league outfielder's play. Turn your back on home plate and come by and pick it off, especially at 6:07 local time.
You can see that he didn't have that ball until he took that second look at it. And when you can turn your back like he did, that's just sheer confidence. He knew he had room, but he had to find that ball. And I tell you, it's not that easy, as you pointed out right about now, Ben. The lights are not that effective.
Oh, no. It's only a little past 6. Beautiful evening, not a cloud in the sky. And the lights not taking any effect. Ball 1 to Terry Pendleton. Pendleton went 3 for 9 against Hershiser. The kid from Port Hueneme, he's struggling a bit with the bat with a 240 average. 2-0. On deck, Darrell Porter. It is interesting to look at the switch hitters, Coleman, McGee, Herr, Pendleton, and Ozzie Smith. They are all better, or at least more successful hitters as left-handed batters. Consequently, when you check, you see the Cardinals have been eating up right-handers. The Cardinals are better than 2-1 against right-hand pitching. Against left-handers, they're just a little bit above 500.
And they pick up a couple steps from Coleman and McGee, and with those two fellows, that means a lot. The ground ball hit left-handed, they can beat it out.
Hit into the fewest double plays in the league. And that takes care of Terry Pendleton. Strikeout number 2 for Orel Hershiser, whose high this year was 9.
And that's that overhand curveball that he throws. It's a good quick curveball. It's the kind when we were kids, you call it a drop. Now they got fancy terms for it. Overhand curveball or cut fastball, backdoor sliders. Either can fire it or you can't, old Diz would say.
There's Darrell Porter. He was on the DL twice this year, so he had only 3 at-bats against Hershiser, and he went 1 for 3. He had a broken big toe on his left foot and a broken index finger. But the interesting thing, if there is such a thing, about the broken index finger, he suffered it while catching, but it was his left index finger, the finger in the glove or mitt, and he doesn't stick the finger out of the mitt. And Whitey Herzog was commenting, saying he had never heard of it before, how a catcher could break a finger inside the mitt. Here's proof positive, as they say in the ads. 2-0. With Ozzie Smith on deck.
I'm trying to figure that out. As we look at Ozzie, he must have had the finger straight out. Why, I don't know. And the ball just hit him straight on. And that I can't understand.
3-0. And they let him swing, and he fouled it away. So Porter given the green light 3-0. And the count now 3-1. 2 down, top of the second, no score. Counting last night, in the 13 games they've played, 9 of the 13, the Dodger pitchers have held the Cardinals to 3 runs or less. So sooner or later it boils down to pitching. One reason why the Dodgers managed to win 7 of the 12 regular season games. And here's Ozzie Smith, and he did well against Hershiser. He was 3 for 8 with a couple of RBIs against him. Darrell Porter was 6 out of 7 in stolen bases. We certainly don't expect him to go, but we do point it out. And he was 6 for 6 in stealing second. The only time Darrell Porter was caught, are you ready?
Yes.
Trying to steal home. Must have been part of a, well, let's see.
Spring training game.
To be. That hit the bag, and it's going to be a base hit. Sachs will run it down, and Porter's on his way to third. So Ozzie Smith hits the bag for a base hit that might have cost a run. If it doesn't hit the bag and goes down the line, Porter might very well have scored.
And when it hits that bag, it almost jumps straight up. Watch this. There it goes. Really doesn't carry out that far. Sachs is able to get it. Get a good view of it right here. Something Smith doesn't do that often, pull the ball that much. And Sachs able to run it down. Porter gets the third. Marshall was coming over hard, but with 2 outs, they might have tried to score Porter. Joaquin's going to bat left-handed.
There you go. So there are 6 switch hitters, evidently. Of course, we don't have any proof that he's going to come back and hit right-handed next time against Hershiser. I always loved Herzog's line about Andujar. He said they pay him $1 million to pitch. They ought to pay me $1 million to manage him.
He's exciting, but Whitey says when you give him the ball, he wants to know when he's going to get it again, so he wants to play.
In there, strike 2. Strike 3 call. So the only major leaguer to strike out more than half of his career at-bats, Joaquin Andujar, and at the end of an inning and a half, no score.
And that's a great picture, because if he can't see the runner looking over his shoulder, that means that the runner's got too big a lead and you should back off. Now, obviously, he sees the runner because he starts into his delivery, got his eyes on that target. Now, watch the twist of that arm on his curveball. Here it comes. Look at that. You can really see the rotation, and all Andujar could do was just watch it float across and say, I couldn't hit that with 4 bats.
So it's a case of the Cardinals squandering some opportunities, and Orel Hershiser has worked his way out of a couple of jams as he sits with pitching coach Ron Perinoski, who was famous for working his way out of jams. Pedro Guerrero, Mike Marshall, and Mike Scioscia in that order. Bottom of the second, no score. Let's see Guerrero's hands. Does he have that little bowling contraption on the left hand? Yep, there it is. So he's heavily taped and wrapped. Guerrero, the biggest thing about him last night, 2 stolen bases. Takes a strike, and a flare, a little bloop single to right.
Andujar, with all the tape that Guerrero's working and wearing and the gloves and all that, he said he's no hurt. He can hit it 10,000 miles if he gets his pitch.
0-1. He's only had 1 home run, however, since the day he injured that wrist. That's back on September the 7th. That was the one that tied him with Steve Garvey's mark of 33 home runs, and he really hasn't been heard from since. 1-1. What happens to him, among other things, in trying, since he can't throw the head of the bat at the ball with his wrist like he normally would, he tries to compensate by moving his body and becoming a sweep hitter. Well, that's okay if you're Ted Kluszewski, but it's not Guerrero's style.
He doesn't spin into it, and now he's really set up for that sidearm pitch, either sidearm fastball or sidearm curveball that Andujar throws so well.
And he chased that sidearm fastball. So that's 3 consecutive strikeouts for Joaquin Andujar, who has certainly come to play. And remember, his high this year is only 6.
It's not a strike, which makes it a doubly good pitch. Way out of the strike zone, Guerrero starts, and he can't stop. That's a tough pitch.
Now here is Mike Marshall, who is prone to chase just that pitch. Mike had a great year, and he had a tremendous September and October when they really needed him to pick up the slack for the fallen Guerrero. 0-1.
Mike's been taking extra batting practice. Again today, he was out there, and he's so intense. He really is a bear-down kind of guy. It was also interesting to watch Andujar push Pendleton back.
0-1 to count to Mike. Strike 2. Every now and then you'll notice a gentleman directly behind home plate. There he is. That's Mike Brito with the speed gun in his right hand, and he will indicate by fingers up to Al Campanis the velocity of the fastballs. 1-2.
Darryl Porter, that was a good shot to see how he was just checking his defense and then put down that big 4, which obviously is a sidearm curveball. Once Andujar gets these right-handers a little bit down with 2 strikes, he's not afraid to come sidearm. That arm is really loose. It's a good, strong arm.
1-2. Sidearm him, and down he goes. And now we really got a string going.
He really bears down. He's looking right at Porter. He wants that sign. Now he knows what he's going to throw. Now he's looking to see where I'm going to throw it, and look at that determination. You don't think it's tough to keep that body in that batter's box. I mean, that front leg starts talking, let's go, man. This is no place for me to be, and you got to talk to that leg to stay here.
Roy Campanella called it the jelly leg, and you would certainly have a jelly leg at 620 against a guy throwing around the corner like Andujar. 1 ball and no strikes to Mike Scioscia. We mentioned last night that he came awfully close to being the first Dodger catcher to hit 300 since the great Roy Campanella did it 30 years ago. Big bouncer to Clark, and that will be that. 6 in a row retired by Joaquin Andujar. And at the end of 2 at sunset time, no score. We'll be back after these messages from your local station. At 6:22 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time. But we should also point out in the minutes of tonight's meeting that in 2 innings we have had 7 strikeouts. So it's a lovely time of day for almost anybody but a hitter. Andujar has struck out 4. Hershiser has struck out 3. And now it's second time around. Vince Coleman, Willie McGee, and Tommy Herr.
Madlock is really in tight at third base, trying to take the bunt away from Coleman.
Take the bunt. 1 ball and no strikes. Coleman, you remember, was aboard on a clean single to center and promptly thrown out. Then McGee was aboard on an error and thrown out, and then Tom Herr doubled. So the Cardinals had an opportunity to go down the drain. 1-0. The big bouncer right to Madlock, as if he were playing pepper with him. 1 down.
Center fielder, Willie McGee.
That'll bring up Willie McGee, the league's leading hitter, aboard on the error by Mariano Duncan.
It was really refreshing. Willie McGee had a tough night last night, and when they asked him, he said, hey, they played better than we did, and it was just a tough night. I'm proud to be here.
He's a champ in a lot of ways. 1 out in the 3rd. Ball 1, 1-0. It was nice, too. McGee didn't forget. When he came up to the Cardinals, Ozzie Smith kind of adopted him and helped him along. And then this year, when Vince Coleman came up, McGee decided to adopt him and help him along. 1-1. Just to show you the magnitude of the man. Look at that. I mean, does that jump out at you? 1 ball, 1 strike. Line drive, base hit to left field. McGee holding at first, and he was never thinking about putting any pressure on Guerrero. He was just jogging to first. But now let's see. Remember, they pitched out and got him in a rundown that went from Scioscia to Sachs to Brock.
He's going to test him again. He's got to. If you're Scioscia, you've got to be looking for it. He'll be looking to Malfitano for some help. He's going to work his ball game.
So we'll watch McGee with 1 out, 3rd inning, no score, and so will Hershiser. We talked about Hershiser holding the ball a little longer on some of the runners. McGee is one of them. He might, and of course he will vary the time, but he would like to come set, hands together at the belt, and hold a little longer, hoping that McGee, who will be on the balls of his feet, will suddenly drop down and become almost flat-footed. And Willie has a tendency to do that once in a while. See how long he held the ball that time. 2-0 the count to Tommy Herr. So it's cat and mouse without a doubt. Now there's an interesting stat, and it puts a little pressure on the umpires too. The Cardinals have caused opposing pitchers to balk 28 times. That is far and away more balks, because they are the running team that they are.
The Dodgers have just lost the pitch out, so ideally 2 balls, no strikes, 2-1. Time to run if they're going to want to put a play on.
2-0 to Tommy Herr. McGee does not go, and it's ball 3, and now Scioscia says hold everything.
Scioscia very simply is saying, well, we've lost our concentration to the point now worrying about McGee that we're now 3-0 on the batter. That's the thing the base runner does.
And Tommy Herr, of course, doubled in the 1st inning. Herr this year is 4 for 10, and Lasorda knows full well that Tommy Herr has given Hershiser a bad time, and now he's in a hole 3-0.
He's been behind on 10 of the 12 batters.
And now he is really in trouble. 2 on with 1 out. And Jack Clark coming up, and Ron Perinoski going out to talk to him.
One of the things that Hershiser does, he gets too fine before he really has to, and it looked like with Tommy Herr, that's what he was trying to do, get too fine. And with this Cardinal ball club, you get the nits and gnats on these Lions and Tigers. The Clark said they're going to eat you up, and right now, as you point out so well, he's in trouble.
Jack Clark, who struck out in the first inning, and who is 0 for 9 against Hershiser, becomes a very, very hungry hitter at this stage.
He's got to be saying, if he throws me a fastball in his first pitch, I'm going to go to work on it. If it's near the strike zone, he's not going to be that particular. He wants to knock in some runs.
And it will be interesting to see if Perinoski has said to Hershiser, look, don't try to make the perfect pitch with McGee at second and Herr at first. Make a good pitch, but it doesn't have to be perfect. Don't fall behind on Clark. He missed with the fastball inside, tried to challenge him, but immediately now behind 1 ball and no strikes.
One of the age-old things always said is, instead of trying to get the hitters out, make them try to hit you. And when you try to get them out, instead of making them try to hit you, it's a whole different psychology, and it's trouble time.
Fastball in there. I think Clark was a little bit surprised to get one right there.
You can bet he was.
He had to be looking breaking ball with Tommy Herr at first, Willie McGee at second, 1 out, and both raring to go. In the dirt, and a good save by Socia, and Fleming will immediately put a new ball in play and throw that out.
Just it's a breaking ball, and Socia, he's like the team bus back there. He just gets in front of it.
In the dirt, and that gets away. McGee is to third, rounding third, coming to the plate. The throw is not in time. Down to third goes Tommy Herr. And just like that, the Cardinals run their way to a 1-0 lead.
He broke immediately. It was a breaking ball. It really caromed off Socia, and watch where this ball hits. It hit off his right arm, and for a minute he couldn't find it. Now he's hustling all the way, but there's a lot of room back here. And McGee, of course, with that great speed, forget about it, it's not even close. Watch McGee. Now he knows right here. I mean, he's coming all the way.
So it's a 2-base wild pitch. Just after Socia had shown you how to handle 1 in the dirt, the second one got away, and it is 1-0 St. Louis in the third. The gift run. And now let's see what Clark does. The Dodger infield has to come up with a runner at third and 1 out. And he promptly hits a short hopper to Sachs. The runner holds the out at first. Steve had to dig that thing out of the dirt, and Tommy Herr had nowhere to go.
Ball pretty well hit. Short hop, off to the side, looks the man back.
So with 2 down and Tommy Herr holding at third, here is Andy Van Slyke. And a gesture by Socia, very briefly but very quickly, look out bunt. Van Slyke flied to right deep to Marshall in the second inning.
To run off any base, they're liable to bunt any time, and it's a ball club that Jim Fry, the manager of the Cubs, says so well. Every hitter comes up, they've got you on the edge of the seat. What are they going to do? What are they going to do?
1 run, 4 hits for the Cardinals. Ball 2. If you're wondering about Tommy Herr at third, he has stolen home this year. He's 1 for 1 in stealing home, but you would never expect anybody to try to steal home with a left-hand hitter at the plate. Switch hitting Terry Pendleton.
And he's liable to take a shot at this one if it's to his liking.
He let Porter swing 3-0, remember. certainly wasn't a pitch to drive. It was about at the knees, outside part of the plate. Lasorda muttering about wild pitch in the dugout. And it is 1-0 St. Louis. 3-2 to Andy Van Slyke. And there's the ball 4. So Hershiser is really struggling. The Cardinals have had men all over the limbs in each of the 3 innings, and they've gotten 1 home so far.
And with 2 outs, as Peronowski goes to the phone because of the trouble Hershiser's in, you can't take for granted with those 2 guys on base. They're going to wait to see what Pendleton's going to do. You got to be alive here for a possible attempted double steal.
8 of the Cardinals' first 14 batters have reached base. And here is Pendleton, who struck out in the 2nd inning. 2 out in the inning, 1 run over, and the Cardinals leading 1-0. Ball 1. So he is really off. Down in the bullpen, Bobo Castillo and Carlos Diaz. Diaz, the left-hander. Hershiser is due to bat 3rd when the Dodgers hit in the bottom of the 3rd. He's battling to stay in the game. Even though he's only allowed 1 run, he is so far off form that he's in a lot of trouble of coming out. Tommy Herr at 3rd, Van Slyke at 1st, and 2-0 the count to Pendleton. High fly ball to left. Guerrero has a play. He's got it. Hershiser wobbly, staggers, and allows only 1 run. So he got out of it certainly cheaply enough. At the end of 2.5, the Cardinals 1, the Dodgers nothing. Well, the scenario right now makes a lot of sense. You have the Cardinal speed. You have a sinker ball pitcher putting extra pressure on the catcher. And sooner or later, it took the 3rd inning for a wild pitch to be cashed in.
Well, that breaking ball is the one that he usually gets over. And when you don't get it over, it's the toughest ball to block because the spin is the opposite way. The curveball is from the right-hander spinning this way. If it hits the dirt, say right about here, it's going to hit you here. So it takes a little bit of guts to get over there and block it. And obviously, Socha didn't get over far enough. But you got to blame that on Hershiser.
And the momentum change. At the start of the game, 2 Redbirds had their feathers plucked. You remember trying to steal. Now they get an advantage on their speed with the wild pitch, and they've taken a 1-0 lead. It is also getting darker now. It is 6:42 local time, so the lights have taken effect. That might also have a better effect on the hitters. Remember, we told you at the end of 2 innings, we had 7 strikeouts. The evening is slowly falling upon Los Angeles. Greg Brock to start it off. Ball 1. Brock will be followed by Steve Sachs, then Orel Hershiser, a career high with the 21 home runs. Brock with that career high of 21, and he hit against everyone except the Cardinals and the Giants. Andujar only allowed 15 home runs, in case you're thinking about that this year. Line drive, great catch by Tommy Herr.
He just does the job. Not much fanfare, and about as excited as he gets when he blows the bubble. He gets it right in the webbing. Looks like an ice cream cone, doesn't it? And now that he's got it, he's like the kid. He lets the little boy in the body out and blows the bubble.
Fine play by Tommy Herr. 1 away, and the batter, Steve Sachs.
Isn't that better than watching a guy chew tobacco and spit?
Yeah. And now. Sachs, 2 hits in 3 at-bats last night. Ball 1, 1-0.
Pendleton is shortened up at 3rd. Sachs is a threat to bunt. Hasn't been doing much the games we did, but he can.
One thing you don't expect from Sachs is extra bases, even though he runs very well. About 10% of his hits are extra base hits. Ground ball by the mound, back a second into center field.
Sachs really taking a good look at the Malfitano. He wants to know what Hershiser is going to be doing.
You know, last night, John Tudor retired the first 7, and then Sachs got a base hit. And the same story tonight. And here's Hershiser.
Well, he's indicated bunt. And you would think when you saw that 197 average jump up there, that's what he would be doing.
He has led the Dodger pitchers in sacrifices this year with 10. So he figures to bunt. And the throw gets away. Sachs is looking at Amalfitano, and they're going to wave him. And the throw to third, he is in there.
And Whitey Herzog has to be thinking, why? It's a bad throw. It's way away from Clark, as you can see, and Sachs picks up Amalfitano right there. And I mean, he makes a slide that it's not the kind you want to show to youngsters. Here's that slide. The body takes the bad hop. Look at here. Whoops. Keeps coming, and he was down for a while.
Now Hershiser is up there with the infield up and a runner at third. And you right away wonder about a squeeze. Remember, he's a good bunter. They're squeezing, and the butt is on the chalk and goes foul.
They're going to play safety squeeze with a guy like Sachs. And if that ball, it was almost a perfect bunt, I'll tell you. Look at here. Sachs sees the ball down. Here he comes. And Clark way back there. Look at that ball hug the line. Andujar wasn't about to let it roll in there. He hustled all the way off the mound.
Well, I tell you one thing, watching Lasorda all year, that was no surprise. And it is no surprise if he tries to squeeze again. Yeah! And he fouled it off. So they're squeezing back to back. And the count 0-2.
Boy, Lasorda, you talk about throwing everything to the wind. I mean, he as much as saying, I don't care. Now, Clark wants to talk to Porter and find out what's running through his mind.
You have to remember, too, that on deck is Mariano Duncan, a switch hitter who does not hit that well left-handed. He's a .220 hitter as a left-handed batter.
You know, just for the sake of finding out something, to even break up the momentum right now, I would just pitch out. You got the luxury, 2 strikes and no balls, just to see what's going on and break up all this hype that's going on.
Andujar twice seeing Hershiser tries to squeeze in the run. Not this time. Full swing, base hit.
Particular setting right there, and the ball gets over Pendleton's head. He's got him crippled, 2 strikes, and he gets a ball he can handle. Pendleton is in tight. He can't come close, and he got way up there. And Andujar, watch his reaction.
I don't think the Cardinals were paying much attention if they didn't realize that Hershiser was hitting almost .290 against them this year, and to give him a pitch 0-2. So it's a 1-1 tie in the third.
Andujar didn't give himself a chance to throw the curveball or the sidearm curveball. If he throws the sidearm curveball, Hershiser does everything but take his shoes off.
1-1 with Duncan at the plate. And fouled the ball down on his foot. Remember, he got nicked on the knee in the first play of the game.
If you've been with us from the first inning, think back of the sidearm curveball he threw Madlock, the sidearm curveball he threw Guerrero, and just wonder what would have happened had he done that to Hershiser. Here's the foul tip off his foot, and I tell you, he is really taking a beating tonight.
So Mariano Duncan with a bad right foot and a sore, maybe spiked left knee.
Then you just have to put it in the category of bad pitching.
Oh, yeah.
That's it. You put a column there, say bad pitching. If you lose this ball game 2-1, it's not a tough luck loss.
It's interesting. The Cardinals got a run on a 2-base wild pitch. The Dodgers got a run on a 2-base pickoff error and then a base hit by a pitcher 0-2. So the pitchers are their own worst enemy.
But it's one thing to make a wild pitch with McGee at second, but it's also another thing to make an error with your 8th-place hitter Sachs at first base and the pitcher coming up who wants to bunt him. What's he throwing over there for in the first place? Let him bunt.
So Duncan still trying to get some feeling back in the right foot, and here's where he took a lick on the left knee. Vince Coleman sliding in to get him. Clean slide. He went straight into the bag, but Duncan was right there. So first a bad left knee and now a sore right foot. Bruce Fleming kidding him and made him laugh.
I tell you, he's got a great sense of humor, that Fleming. You can see whatever he said, it broke the mood.
1-1 the count to Mariano. Of course, he is always being reminded about it, but his one little battle cry as a ball player is you've got to play with enthusiasm. And he needs all the enthusiasm he can get right now. 1-1. He drives it right at McGee. 2 down. You know, on that first pitch, when Duncan fouled it off, Hershiser was breaking towards second. I'm not sure exactly what he had in mind, but Duncan fouled it off his foot. Now with 2 down, Landro the batter, with Jack Clark holding Hershiser, and that to me is a very, I don't know, I think it's a weak play if you're expecting Hershiser to steal. He does have 1 stolen base this year, but you're sure tying up the right side of the infield. Let's see how they pitch him. They pitch him away on the corner for a strike.
And you got to break off the back sooner. Jack Clark is looking to the bench for instructions, and obviously they're telling him to hold him on. It's okay to hold him, but you can break sooner. He's got about a 6-inch lead.
And you can hold him on by not holding him on. By that I mean you don't have to be on the bag to hold him on. And that's hit the other way into left center, base hit. Chasing it is Coleman, and by the time he gets it, they're going to send Hershiser home. The throw by Ozzie, he scores.
Cuts that ball off before it gets to the wall. Hershiser is running very hard. He gives it to the cutoff man, Ozzie, who fires it in. But keep in mind, with 2 outs at the crack of the bat, Hershiser was off, and he was able to pick up 5 steps on that account, and he is really digging hard, and a superb athlete as far as condition, because he's not hesitating at all. You don't see the oil starting to leak or the wheels coming off. He's still strong.
It probably sums up another reason why Clark held him on the bag. The fact that they were trying to pitch Landro away, not let him pull, but they got burned by it. Remember, the first pitch was a fastball on the outside corner, and then the second pitch, he hits up the alley in left center. So now Madlock trying to pick up Landro. 2-1 Dodgers. If you care, discounting the pickoff error, both runs are earned. Breaking ball hit into left. They're going to send Landro. Here comes Coleman's throw. Good throw, but he scores. Madlock to second. 3-1 Dodgers.
A short hop throw. He had something on it, but it was a tough throw for Porter to handle right here. He's in good position. He's got something on it, but it's a short hopper. And Porter had to go on, and Coleman, of course, he's disgusted and a little bit disappointed himself, the short hop throw. Mike Rourke is coming out to talk to him, to Andujar, and settle him down as we look at Herzog.
Now remember, in the inning, the first batter was Greg Brock, and he was robbed of a hit by Tommy Herr. So you had a base hit taken away, and now 3 singles and a double.
Ben, there's an old baseball expression that applies in this particular case.
Ricky Horton.
As we look at Ricky Horton, Mr. Ricky used to always say if they pitched as hard to stay out of trouble as when they are in trouble, they'd never be in trouble. And that's about it here.
So Orel Hershiser with a brief visit with Bob Welch. 1 minute he's down 1-0. Now he's leading 3-1. And with 2 out, Pedro Guerrero, and this place going wild as Madlock stands at second.
And Hershiser was staggering. Now we'll see when he comes out with the lead what happens.
High breaking ball, 1-0. Hershiser isn't sitting down. You'd expect him to be using every second to stay off his feet.
Adrenaline is pumping now, man. He's going.
1-0 to Guerrero. Hard breaking ball low. So he's been up and down, and he's behind 2-0. Andujar is due to bat third when the Cardinals hit in the 4th inning, so he's on thin ice. Now they're going to walk Guerrero intentionally. That for Andujar will be the first walk he has allowed. And Whitey Herzog would rather set up and out with the free-swinging Mike Marshall.
And again, Whitey Herzog indicated that even though Guerrero has the bad wrist, he fears him just a little bit more than most people do, because Marshall, healthy, is a free swinger, a hacker. He'll get his swings.
Mike struck out in the 2nd inning. 2 on, 2 out, and 3 in. Dodgers 3, Cardinals 1. Andujar struggling to stay in the game. Fastball, and it's missed. It wasn't fouled, and the runners move up 90 feet. Darrell Porter just missed it. Boy, that's a tough break for the Cardinals.
Here it is. 3/4 looks like a fastball, and it was sailing in, and it just hit off the heel of the glove. It looked like he was just completely fooled by it, like he didn't see it. He really boxed that one up. Mike Marshall, in talking about tough pitchers to hit, Andujar ranks 1, and then Gooden and Sid Fernandez of the Mets are his 3 toughest pitchers to hit.
The pass ball charged to Darrell Porter, and Dodgers at 2nd and 3rd with 2 out. 3-1 Dodgers. That, of course, erases the strategical effect of the intentional walk to Guerrero. It takes away a force play. In there, on the corner, strike 2.
Cardinals have had everything in this inning except the block kick.
But you had the line drive catch by Herr. You had the pickoff throw when Andujar threw it between Sack's legs. There was no way that Clark could get it. And then Hershiser twice tries to squeeze and then singles in a run, 0-2. Breaking ball is lifted to right. Van Slyke has the play. And that's the inning, but it's a 3-run inning for the Dodgers. 3 runs, 4 hits, 1 very big inning. And at the end of 3, the Dodgers 3 and the Cardinals 1. A magnificent evening here in Los Angeles. We had an 80-degree day, and it has just settled into a lovely summer's evening despite the time of year in October. But it was an October moment right now.
Yeah, when the pumpkins are out and you wear funny faces. Andujar is a pitcher. Now, Hershiser got the big key hit. Now, he missed the bunt attempt, a squeeze bunt to squeeze it home. And that's a 2-strike pitch that he hits. And the thing that's frustrating is, why does the ball even that close to where a pitcher can get a bat on it? Because when you get 2 strikes on the pitcher, it's just, unless he's an exceptional hitter, and right-handed or right-hander, you throw him that big breaking curveball.
Well, here's Darrell Porter, 1 hopper right at Sachs. Now, that's a little bit of a surprise, too, considering Hershiser made such a long trip around the base paths, and we were talking about whether he'd be a little wobbly, and Darrell just went up and hacked immediately. Wouldn't even, maybe even bunt on him, make him move around, do something.
Well, of course, he staggered when he left, Hershiser did, but then you come up with a 3-run, 3-1 lead, and, you know, it's the side trip to Lourdes. It's a miracle now. I feel fine, and everything is great.
I was a little surprised last night because that had been mentioned about Fernando having the ankle, that they didn't bunt, but now Ozzie tried. Now, I would certainly try to bunt a couple of times to see whether Hershiser would get rubber-legged or not. 1-2 to Ozzie, the man who strikes out about once every 22 at-bats. In fact, he's never struck out more than 49 times in an entire season. So when you get 2 strikes on him, your job isn't even close to being done. So it'll be an interesting battle here. 1-2. 2-2.
You talk about striking out. I get that Hall of Fame newsletter, and Joey Sewell's going to be, I think, 87. I think he struck out twice one season. One season.
What a different game. Breaking ball is going to be hit up the middle, and Duncan short hops, throws too late. You can't get Ozzie hitting left-handed on that play, but it was an excellent try by Mariano Duncan, and evidently, despite the bad foot and the bad knee, he was able to cover the ground and get there.
Well, he's one of the 2 fellas we expected to put on his show tonight because of Hershiser's pitching, and he had just about got Ozzie. But as you mentioned, Vin, you just don't get him left-handed. And it goes the same for Coleman and McGee from the left side. They pick up that step or 2, and it's just enough to make the difference. Look at him stretch out. He's got himself a base hit.
Remember we told you he's unpredictable? Look at Andujar. He's now going to bunt right-handed. His first at-bat, he was swinging left-handed.
No, he was taking left-handed.
He struck out.
He took it all the way.
He took it left-handed. Why do you blame left-handed? Ozzie Smith at first. Top of the 4th inning, 3-1 Dodgers. The incredible Joaquin Man. That's Andujar. I guess he's a better bunter right-handed. Foul. 0-2. He bunts in the air. They're going to let it fall. They want to get Ozzie Smith off the bases. Now they throw to first and double up Andujar. The incredible Joaquin Man.
Hershiser made that play.
At the end of 3.5, 3-1 Dodgers.
Hershiser on the last pitch throws it across the seam, high and in fastball. Andujar pops it up. Now watch Hershiser take charge, and he gets a lot of help. Socha starts saying second base, second base. He about throws it away, and it's an easy double play. Now you wonder what happened to Andujar. There's nothing he can do. Here's another replay of it. Watch what happens. It's high and in, and down he goes. It was actually a knockdown pitch that he bunts, a high and in. And he's sitting on the ground watching the play just like us.
Well, now let's see. He is caught looking for strike 3, hitting left-handed. He is flattened and bunts into a double play, hitting right-handed. What other worlds are there left for him?
And I'll tell you something. He is steaming right now. You could fry 2-3 eggs right on that forehead. He is upset.
And Socha will be the first man to find out about it. And he bunts. And it'll be Porter falling down. Boy, was that a thinking man's play by Socha.
Sir. Yes, sir. I can't say enough about it. He knew, he felt, everybody knows that Andujar is upset, so he's just going to put a little more gas on the fire. He bunts the ball, and Andujar's going to make the play, and Porter runs him off. Down he goes, and he can't do anything but just flip it over there. And now Andujar, you know he's just seething. And I know if I was catching, I'd be out there talking to him right now because he is just upset. He's trying to fight it back, but he's human. He doesn't run on batteries. Look at those eyes.
Somebody better go out there and smooth the feathers of that bird.
Oh.
Yeah, he's about ready to come apart.
Call room service. Get somebody there.
Greg Brock will be the batter, followed by Steve Sachs. But a great psychological ploy by Socha, and it paid off. Now let's see what happens with Brock. Remember, he was robbed of a hit by Tommy Herr in that wild 3rd inning. And he's up there hacking.
Andujar's got to feel that I have to do it myself. I mean, I'm just going to do it myself. You can almost see it in his eyes. Because everything that could possibly happen to the guy has happened. I mean, everything.
That average of Brock very consistent. He's hit exactly the same at home as on the road. 0-1. 1 ball and 1 strike. Cardinals got a run in the third. McGee singled, Herr walked, and a wild pitch scored McGee from second base. And then the Dodgers came back with an even wilder 3, and there's a drive to right, away back and gone. Call for Brock. Sachs, who has no sense of theater, stayed in the batter's box and took a strike. He would not be your critic for the American theatrical scene. 0-2.
Remember, he lives in the wonderful world of
Steve Sachs.
With Mr. Rogers, and he's in his neighborhood.
So Greg Brock takes Andujar deep, and it is 5-1 Dodgers here in the 4th inning. Look out.
We're liable to have something happen now. Now we're liable to have something.
And still no one has gone to talk to Andujar. I don't understand it.
I was going to say, like he's just an outcast. Now, Fleming is right in doing what he's doing. He's going to stop it. Andujar has been upset, and you can see, if you can read lips, what he just said. He is really seething, and somebody ought to go out there and just talk to him. I mean, they're battling to go to the World Series, and it's like, well, okay.
They should have gone out immediately after Socha's bunt single.
No question about it.
And Sachs was trying to lay a little angry on that one.
Now, it's a 2-strike count with this pitch.
And that's Adam, boy.
Right, high and tight. That was a message pitch, no doubt about it. You can see Sachs, and he's going to be overmatched if he starts out there, and all he could do is stare. You see it hit the bat. I thought it hit him at first, but
Dave Anderson coming over to talk to Sachs. That's Mike Marshall sitting on Sachs' left. And the batter is Orel Hershiser. By the way, just to give you an idea what it's like life in the big league, that 0-2 knockdown pitch was a fastball that was clocked at 91 miles an hour. And he bunts, and it'll be Pendleton and make the play. Boy, are they trying to do everything but pin a tail on Andujar psychologically. And the Cardinals haven't done anything really to try and hold him together.
even with making it out, and Duncan will take plenty of time. He's not even on the on-deck circle, as they're going to give Hershiser a chance to get back to the dugout. Even with the out, it's enough to keep Andujar rattled, which is what you're trying to do.
You know, I wonder, too, and of course we don't see that much of Joaquin Andujar. He could be a pitcher who hates to have people come to the mound. And maybe during the course of the year that he won 21 in his 2 magnificent years back-to-back, maybe the Cardinals have gotten into the habit of leaving him alone.
Well, not in that spot. I can't buy that at all.
Well, I'm just giving you a thought.
No, I'm just saying.
In fact, I'm trying to give them help.
There you saw that 92-mile-an-hour fastball, and you can see Sachs staring him down. It was high and tight. In a spot like that, Vin, it's not just trying to win friends and influence people. You're just trying to break the mood is all you're trying to do. As I say, with Hershiser up with 2 strikes, I'd have pitched out to break the mood, anything, because you could feel it building, and they just let it build.
Here's Duncan 0 for 2. Grounded to third, fly to center.
You know, baseball is a game of emotions, too, oddly enough. And it's not just physical. I mean, it's an emotional kind of thing. You have to get involved. If you're going to play this like you're playing for a keg of beer, forget about it.
0-2 the count. And the Cardinals come up in the 5th inning. They have Vince Coleman, Willie McGee, and Tommy Herr. And Brock still relishing a 2-run home run as he talks to Bob Baylor. That's Len Matuzik on his left. One thing for Hershiser, if he reflects on the first 4 innings, he knows the Cardinals are far from being out of it. They have had men on base in every inning. He has not retired the side in order. They've touched him for 5 hits and 1 run. That will take care of Mariano. That's a half a dozen strikeouts for Joaquin Andujar, but small consolation. 5-1 Dodgers. We'll be back after these messages from your local station. Joaquin Andujar went into the dugout and sat down. He had a long-distance few words with a teammate in the far left. No one came near him. Finally, Tommy Herr walked over and said something in passing, but the point being, no one came over to console, to stroke, or to do anything to change that psychological mood. They just leave him alone. And the count to Vince Coleman is a strike, 0-1. Coleman has singled and grounded to third. 1 for 2. Caught stealing in the 1st inning. 0-2.
The thing is so difficult because you and I both know in the clubhouse, he's the guy they're all agitating. He's the guy that they're fooling with, and he's the guy that they're playing the practical jokes on. And yet in the spot when it looks like, hey, I need a friend, like, nobody.
0-2. Little ground ball, heat on Duncan to get Coleman. Got him.
Duncan makes a good play because he knows he's got the speedy Coleman, and he gets something on that throw and just does get him. Good play. And Coleman is really letting out. That ball's not hit that hard. He knows he's got a chance for a base hit. Gets down the line in good shape.
1 away in the top of the 5th inning, and Willie McGee aboard on an error. Single to left, a big chopper to the right of Sachs. He stays with it, throws him out.
In direct contrast now, the Dodgers, they're bunting and moving around, and here is Hershiser, who really staggered, and 3 pitches, 2 outs, and the catalyst of the team.
Tommy Herr will be the batter, and Herr is taking his time before coming up to the plate, like a leadoff man perhaps, trying to give Andujar a few more moments rest in the dugout. Herr, a heady ball player, doubled, walked, and no doubt thinking about that. On deck, Jack Clark. 5-1 Dodgers, top of the 5th. Right. The series will move to the beautiful city of St. Louis. Tomorrow is a travel day, and the Dodgers and Cardinals will roll all over Busch Stadium Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. The American League game 3 is tomorrow night as Bruce Frumming is hit by that pitch. 1 ball and 1 strike to count. Whitey Herzog and Red Schoendienst. Schoendienst, his coach, managed the Cardinals longer than anyone. And now Herzog is the skipper. And they saluted one of the greatest Cardinals of all a few minutes ago when we were in commercial. On Diamond Vision in left field, a huge picture of the one and only Stan the Man Musial. We showed you the fact he had led the league 7 times. Incredible hitter. Big chopper to Brock, and he'll do it himself, and it's a very easy inning for Orel Hershiser. And at the end of 4.5 innings, the Dodgers 5 and the Cardinals 1. The old and the new in the far corner of the Dodger dugout, Sandy Koufax, and as he passed the baton to Fernando Valenzuela. Meanwhile, a legend in Cardinal history.
Seated with his lovely wife, Lil, Stan the Man. We talked about him leading the league 7 times, but how about slugging for a percentage of .702? That was 1948. That is really unbelievable.
Kenny Landreau takes takes a strike and the count 0-1. Down through the years, what magnificent battles between the Brooklyn Dodgers, the Los Angeles Dodgers, and the forever St. Louis Cardinals. Boy, have they put on show. Fouled away. In fact, one year, you want to talk about a tough year. In 1942, the Brooklyn Dodgers won 104 games. The St. Louis Cardinals won 106 and went into the World Series.
So that's Billy Southworth's team. Terry Moore, yeah.
And look at how even they are, just about from the first time they ever met. There's a lot of fanfare, but this is one of the truly great rivalries, the Dodgers-Cardinals. And that slice to left center field. Here comes McGee. Can't get it. Coleman going over to back up. Landreau holding with a double, and he has gone that way consecutive at-bats in the third inning to drive in a run, and now here in the fifth.
McGee gives it a good effort. Looks like he might make the play, and he just doesn't quite get to it. And Vince Coleman hustling all the way. Even though it does go for the two-base hit, I'd venture to say most ball clubs that's a three-base hit.
Well, not only that, I was thinking Landreau hit 2 home runs in one game against the Cardinals this year. One of the home runs was inside the park, but it was on turf. The bunt by Madlock is on the chalk and goes foul. Madlock followed by Guerrero. Bill Campbell gets up in the Cardinal bullpen. When the Dodgers and the Cardinals go to St. Louis, the pitchers on Saturday will be Bob Welch with a record of 14-4 and Danny Cox with a record of 18-9. Now, you never hear anything about Danny Cox, but how about this? His 18 victories would have led 15 teams in the major leagues this year. Well, Danny will be on the hill for the Birds Saturday. Good, hard breaking ball. Madlock fooled, 0-2.
He was just trying to punch that ball to the right side to pick up that base with an out. Surprised he even chased it.
So first he tried to bunt, then he tried to go with the breaking ball, and the count 0-2. And this time he lifts one to shallow left center. Landreau will not tag. McGee for the catch, and there's no further play. One away. So for Madlock, he no doubt a little annoyed that he was not at least able to move his man over. And here comes Guerrero. Pedro Guerrero, and you were talking about the slugging percentage of Stan Musial. They're going to take the bat out of Pete's hands and walk him again. So it gives us a chance to tell you he was the first Dodger to lead the National League in slugging percentage since another great name in the Dodger history book, Duke Snider, back in '56. So when these two get together, you're talking about some great players, present and past.
And Vin, you were in Brooklyn broadcasting. The name itself, Stan the Man. I was on the club. I remember those fans in Ebbets Field. When Musial would come up to take batting practice, he'd get an ovation from him. And then he'd have those tremendous days. I remember a 5-for-5 day he had there, and that's when they enabled him Stan the Man.
Worthy indeed to have a statue erected in front of Busch Stadium in St. Louis.
I bet that statue would hit 280.
Probably. Well, with Guerrero slowly going to first, Landreau at second and 1 out. Mike Marshall, who struck out in the second and flied to right in the third. With 1 out, Marshall is probably the toughest of the Dodgers as far as grounding into double play. He's only hit into 8. Basically, it's hit or miss for Mike, and when he hits, it's usually in the air. And there it's in the air. Base hit to left. Here comes Landreau. Here comes Coleman's throw, and it's a poor throw, and that allows Marshall to go to second with Guerrero at third. 6-1 Dodgers.
Say he had a chance to get his man at the plate, and he just throws it over everybody's head. Inexperience. He had plenty of time to get the play at the plate, and you can see Andujar making the catch on the fly. And here comes Whitey now. He's going to have to make a pitching change.
And you know, in the excitement of a league championship series, as Phil Campbell will be brought in. You got to remember that the youngster in left field, Vince Coleman, is just that, a youngster. And it is 6-1, and Whitey Herzog is getting older by the minute. Does that mean he will be bypassed in a short series? And would they bring in Bob Forge? Meanwhile, they're going to walk Socia intentionally. Remember, Andujar has pitched very poorly in his last 10 starts. And you wonder just how long Whitey will go with that.
Well, you have to repeat, you know, he goes a long way with his players. They got him here. But you have to wonder, you know, what are his options, and he's going to have to make that tough decision. Forsh's last time out pitched pretty well.
With first base open because of that overthrow by Vince Coleman, which is really a killer, Whitey Herzog has to bring in a left-hand pitcher to walk a left-hand hitter intentionally and then get another left-hand hitter, Brock.
One thing the Cardinals have done very well all year on defense is to keep the double play in order, and they have not done that. And the Dodgers are taking advantage of everything. The Dodgers are playing wide open. They really are.
We mentioned earlier that Brock had hit home runs against everybody but the Cardinals and the Giants. And, of course, now you can scratch Cardinals. Brock this year has hit 2 grand slams. He hit a slam against Al Holland at Pittsburgh and a slam against Steve Shields at Atlanta. The Dodgers hit 6. 0-1. Line drive at Horton. He goes to Pendleton, and they double up Guerrero. And they're out of the inning on a line drive double play. And at the end of 5, the Dodgers 6 and the Cardinals 1. And Brock mutters about the line drive, good for 2 outs. A New York boy, 26-year-old Ricky Horton, born in Poughkeepsie and lives in Hyde Park. Watch him come of age in a tough spot.
He was checking the runner at third, determined he fires, and I watched the reaction not only of him, but look at Porter. Porter jumps up and says, hey, he's got it now, let's get a double play. And it was an easy double play once he made that fine play. Keep in mind that when a line drive is hit back to you, you start off 60 feet 6 inches. With your follow through, you're about 55 feet from home plate.
Once again, we'd like to remind our viewers we'll be selecting the NBC Light Beer from Miller Player of the Game at the conclusion of the ball game. It is far from over. A lot of baseball left. We're just going to the 6th inning. And you have Jack Clark, Andy Van Slyke, and then Terry Pendleton. For Andujar, he went 4 1/3 innings, allowed 6 earned runs, 8 hits, 2 walks, and he had a half a dozen strikeouts. That was not an intimidating pitch. It wasn't even a good fastball. 1 ball and no strike.
Tells you something about Andujar, too. He's still on the bench, Rudy.
On the hands, ball 2. 2-0. Andujar had beaten the Dodgers twice this year without a loss.
Most pitchers would be in the clubhouse watching it and listening to it. He wants to see it. He's a battler.
And now Hershiser is 3-0, and Socia asking for time. The only time Hershiser retired the side in order was in the top of the 5th.
There's no strategy going on here. Mike is very simply saying, hey, look at the scoreboard. It's 6-1. You keep throwing it up there, and you're going to get the water hot and cold, and you're going to take a shower. So throw me some strikes. He's just breaking a mood.
He has walked as many as 6 in a game and gotten away with it. He's walked 3 so far tonight. 3 balls and no strikes to Clark. Clark is also looking for his first hit against Hershiser. He is 0 for 10 this year. Looks like he's going to get it. Clean single to center for Jack Clark. Leading off matters in the 6th inning. Now the batter will be Andy Van Slyke.
Andy Van Slyke.
Brock wanted to know if he should play halfway or what, and they're going to play behind him.
Jack Clark, in case you wonder, having seen that move, has stolen 1 base, and more importantly, has been thrown out 4 times. The can understand, besides the left-hand hitter, why Brock is off the bag. Van Slyke out on a good play by Marshall in the second inning, walked in the third, ball 1. Ken Howell, the right-hander, and Rick Honeycutt, the left-hander, get up in the Dodger bullpen. Because Hershiser has made a lot of pitches tonight and has never really given you the feeling that he is in complete command at all. Strike, 1-1.
In talking to the Dodger coaching staff, they don't, and Lasorda himself says, I don't worry too much about the pitches. It's how he pitches. He's made 85 pitches. If he gets the ball up, or they start hitting a lot of fly balls, that's when I worry.
He's completed 9 games this year. And there's a drive to right, but Marshall got a good jump. I don't think he gets that jump, and now he's going to try for the double play, but couldn't do it. It's been hard to pick that ball up back in the first 2 innings, but now that it is dark, it is almost 7:45 here. He was on the move immediately. 1 out, Terry Pendleton, the batter. We talked about it, Joe and I, all during the season, about a stat that could very well come into meaning. It's called quality starts. It only applies to starting pitchers, but it tells you more than complete games or wins and losses, because so many things get into wins and losses. What a quality start simply means is your starting pitcher goes 6 innings or more and allows 3 runs or less. So what he's really doing is your starting pitcher is keeping you in the game. Well, when you check starting pitchers, there's one, Fernando Valenzuela. He's very high in quality starts. Dwight Gooden is best in the league in quality starts. And then you get to Hershiser and Andujar to follow the point. In quality starts, Hershiser has 25 of the 34 starts that he has made. Andujar, however, even though he won 21 games, had only 22 quality starts in 38 starts. So that's a pretty good indicative start that should very well be applied to baseball. Quality starts. John Tudor had 27 out of 36. Squirted off the end of the bat. Madlock will have to go to first, and down to second base goes Clark. That thing looked like it came out of the end of a hose. Little ground ball to third.
Looked like the big breaking ball. It was out of the strike zone, and Pendleton hit it right on the end of the bat, and she just snaked her way down there. That's always a tough play for an infielder.
Now the batter is Darrell Porter. Walked in the second inning, grounded out in the fourth. He is 1 for 4 for the year against Hershiser. Remember, he was on the DL twice. And Porter will be followed by Ozzie Smith, who hits Hershiser very well. So this is a key at bat with 2 out. Porter trying to extend the inning. Ozzie has 5 hits in 10 at bats against Hershiser this year. So Porter somehow has to extend the inning. Not too much on that. It might have been, well, I don't know if it was a bad curveball or a split-fingered fastball, but it didn't have a thing on it. He's lucky it was out of the strike zone.
It was a bad curveball following another bad curveball. He's really not snapped it off.
2 balls and no strikes. And now he's behind 3-0. So the Cardinals could very well get back in the ball game if Porter can extend it and Ozzie Smith comes up. Taken all the way.
I tell you, partner, if he'd have swung at that 6-1.
6-1, a lot of trouble.
I'd have gone up and filed a grievance.
There have been some strange things going on.
Tell me about
You know, earlier this year I got to call in Dodger Stadium the Enchanted Castle, and it's been a little bit that way these 2 nights. Ground foul, 3-2.
Man, Ghostbusters have been out.
It gets closer and closer to Disneyland every day, I think. 3-2 to Darrell Porter. 2 down, Clark at second. We're in the top of the 6th. The Dodgers 6, the Cardinals 1. Got him. Big strikeout. A very big time of the game to get it. So the Cardinals leave Clark at second, and at the end of 5½. Dodgers 6, Cardinals 1. Here are some nicknames that never made it. Eggs Benedict, Bigfoot, Caribbean Cruise, Big Bird, Babaloo, Wooden Nickels, Polar Bear and the classic Joe Torre, chicken catcher Torre.
Yes.
Yes, I don't have time. Bottom of the 6th inning, 6-1 Dodgers.
Not the courage.
Sachs, Hershiser, and Duncan. And the bunt down to get it is Horton. And got him on a great play by Clark. Oh, what a play by Clark. I don't know how he could have picked that ball right off Sachs' head. And the Dodgers are going to argue.
Lasorda really charging across there for him. Let's watch it again. Horton makes a good play.
Look at Clark. He looked like he took it out of his ear like a magician.
McSherry and Lasorda arguing, and I'm telling you, that's a group.
Yeah, that's a full-size picture.
Oh, that throw is. Where'd he tag him? I couldn't tell. Did you?
No, I was just too busy trying to figure out how he caught the ball. In fact, I'm kind of glad he caught the ball. It looked like it was heading for Sachs' ear. And here's Hershiser with 1 out. And he hits a ground ball, breaking his bat, and Tommy Herr will take care of him. I really marveled at that play by Jack Clark. Watch this. It's right into him. And, of course, the Dodgers, I think, are going to claim, among other things, he came off the bag, huh?
Yeah, and that Sachs was past him when he caught the ball, so how could he tag him? I mean, I think that's what they were claiming.
Yeah.
That was a good play.
Boy,
He made it look pretty easy.
2 down, and Mariano Duncan taking some time to let Hershiser get back into the dugout. Mariano was grounded to third, fly to center, struck out. And looking for his first hit in the League Championship Series. Now hitting right-handed. And as we have always felt, when talking about a switch hitter, especially if there's a big difference, it should be pointed out. He is a totally different hitter from this side of the plate. Line drive down the right field line to illustrate the point. And he's going to go to second because he's got a bad leg and a bad foot. That's an easy triple for him prior to tonight. And they're going to check Charlie Strasser and Tommy Lasorda going out to make sure he can keep playing.
He really pulled up lame as he got near second base.
We were saying he's such a different hitter. Would you believe over 60 points different? He's a .290 hitter as a right-handed batter. Now leading by 5 in the bottom of the 6th inning with 2 out. I think it's going to be up to Duncan. They have Dave Anderson to back up at short.
He's a little gingerly going around first base. You can see that. Now he thinks he's got another base, and then he pulls up lame right there.
That's that knee, I think, that was spiked, remember, in the first inning? And he evidently will come out. He was spiked by Vince Coleman on the left knee. Then he fouled the ball off his foot.
He's got some pads in there to protect him when he slides. I think it's a factor, but it's been a tough night for him.
You wonder about the fates. Here's a kid in his first League Championship Series, finally gets a hit and has to come out. So Dave Anderson will run for him and then stay in the game at shortstop.
Your attention, please. For the Dodgers, running for Duncan, number 10.
So Mariano Duncan is through for the night. The Dodgers hoping to console themselves, I'm sure, with the thought that off tomorrow he would be all right on Saturday. He means a great deal to them. And Kenny Landreau coming up. Bob Welch and Danny Cox on Saturday at Busch Stadium in St. Louis. The Birds, and it should be pointed out, they have the best record at home of anybody in the league. But the Dodgers could very well be more than walking into an aviary when they go to Busch Stadium. It could be a lion's den. Landreau has struck out and doubled to left and left center. Both times, however, he was hitting against Andujar. Now he's making a rare at-bat against a left-hander.
And they're shading him towards the left field line. He's got a lot of room in right center field against the left-hander.
There's a 5-run difference in the game, and there's a pretty good reason. The Dodgers are 3 for 6 in hitting with runners in scoring position. The Cardinals are 0 for 5.
The thing that's hurt the Cardinals tonight will never show up in the box score.
1-1. That bad pickoff of Sachs seemed to be the beginning of the end. That was the leak in the balloon for Andujar.
And Hershiser in the wild pitch, and then the overthrow the cutoff man, and overthrowing the catcher.
2-1. So after getting those big sweepers, good pitch by Horton. He decides to come inside. 3-1 the count to Kenny Landreau.
Here's the pitch. Landreau's a pretty good piece from the plate. Wasn't that close. He went down after it was past him anyhow.
3-1.
I don't blame him. It's a little different than batter's box.
So he has walked Landreau. And that's really got to frost Whitey Herzog. To walk the left-hand hitter, and now you get Bill Madlock, and it has frosted Whitey enough to bring him out of the dugout and make a change. Bill Campbell has been down there in the bullpen, and he'll be coming in. 6-1 Dodgers, 2 out and 2 on, bottom of the 6th. Bill Campbell was 0-1 against the Dodgers this year. He was in 3 games and worked 4 innings against him. And he will now go head-to-head with Bill Madlock with 2 on and 2 out in the 6th. 6-1 Dodgers. Ground foul. You know, the history books, and now that the League Championship Series is a best 4 out of 7, it's just like the World Series. In World Series history, no team that lost the first 2 games at home ever came back to win. But a lot of teams have lost the first 2 games on the road and come back to win, including the Brooklyn Dodgers of '55. So the Cardinals can take heart from the history books that even should they lose this second game, this is a 4 out of 7. And you're not blown out of the water. If it was 3 out of 5 and you're down 2-0, you're up to your neck in alligators.
I was going to say, man the lifeboats.
1-1. Line to center, sinking base hit. McGee is going to come after the plate. Here comes Anderson to score. 7-1 Dodgers. The key, of course, was the left-hander Horton walking Landreau. And the Dodgers now are 4 for 7 in hitting with runners in scoring position. Madlock hit almost .390 for the Dodgers with runners in scoring position this year. And all Whitey Herzog can do about now is wish he had a lot of things back that occurred tonight. So Glad Dog, as they call him, gives the Dodgers a 7-1 lead. And the batter is Guerrero. Landreau at second. The run, of course, is charged to Horton. Anderson brought it in, running for Duncan. Fastball hit into left field, base hit. Here comes Landreau to score. 8-1 Dodgers. Lasorda and company, everything they have done is they have come up smelling like a rose. They have now hit with runners in scoring position in 5 of the 8 opportunities. And here's Marshall. Breaking ball. Interesting thing, too, about Guerrero. Bad wrist and all. Pedro had only 6 RBIs from September the 7th to the championship series. And he's picked up 2 in 2 games. Foul ball. 0-2. too.
In this game, the Dodgers have taken advantage of every situation. They've made some breaks, and whatever was there, they took. They have not left anything for the dogs.
Check swing. They're going to look at first. Swing, said John McSherry.
Mike Marshall can't believe it. He's still at home plate.
It's a 2-run inning. It's 8-1 Dodgers at the end of 6. We'll be back after these messages from your local station. Remember, after the game, stay tuned following local news, time permitting, for The Tonight Show, starring Johnny Carson, and Late Night with David Letterman, except on the West Coast and most Mountain Time Zone stations, where they'll be seen at their regular time. Night has descended upon Los Angeles. Gloom, I'm sure, has descended upon the city of St. Louis, but it's not over yet. Not the game nor the League Championship Series. We'll be in St. Louis for Saturday's game, the matchup again, Bob Welch and Danny Cox. Dave Anderson is at shortstop, having run for Mariano Duncan. It'll be Ozzie Smith, Steve Braun, and then Vince Coleman. Ozzie 2 for 2 tonight. He is 5 for 10 against Hershiser. With Braun on deck, Jeff Lottie has been throwing in the Cardinal pen. Ground ball to Brock. He'll do it himself. The only Cardinal run in the 3rd inning.
Batting for Campbell.
After Coleman had grounded out, Willie McGee singled to left. Tommy Herr walked. And a wild pitch by Hershiser scored McGee from second base. So the attack has not been there, and now one of the more successful pinch hitters, Steve Braun, coming up. This year he passed Red Schoendienst as the all-time Cardinal pinch hitter, but not this time. So 2 ground balls to Greg Brock. And the batter will be Vince Coleman.
Left fielder, Vince Coleman.
Hershiser, of course, with a 7-run lead, is not trying to be fancy now.
No way. Just throw strikes, because the base on balls is what you want to stay away from. As you look back, Vin, that first inning when Coleman singled and was thrown out, stealing McGee, safe on an air, and then caught in that rundown, it was almost like, hey, we have to figure out a different way to do it.
We've got something important, so let's go to New York for a news update. Thank you, Tom. And of course, the importance and seriousness of that announcement makes this ball game in proper perspective about the size of a grain of sand. Just, however, to get your mind off what has been going on and is going on in the Middle East, we can conclude the story. Vince Coleman grounded out in the top of the 7th inning. In the bottom of the 7th inning, Mike Scioscia fouled out to left. Greg Brock has just flied to center. Left-hander Ken Daly is now pitching for St. Louis. It is 8-1 Dodgers, 2 out in the 7th inning. And Steve Sachs single struck out and hit back to the box in the 6th inning. Check swing, and they'll look at McSherry. No swing, says John, and he gets a cheer. You remember how the crowd reacted when he called Marshall out in the 6th.
Then I'd just like to add in the recap that one of the pitches Daly threw to Scioscia really flipped him. So it's the 2nd knockdown that we've had, and that might mean something. It was about a 90-mile-an-hour fastball, and Mike didn't waste any time getting out of there, and I don't blame him.
1 ball and no strikes. The count is Steve Sachs. 8-1 Dodgers, 2 out, bottom of the 7th. High fly ball into left center. McGee, however, has that one on his radar screen, and that's that. The Dodgers are out in order. It's the first time that's happened since the 2nd inning. And at the end of 7, 8-1 Dodgers.
The following message is furnished by Major League Baseball.
1985 has been a great year for me and a record-breaking year for the family of baseball. Like any family, we've had our share of problems, and we're working hard to solve them. But we've had some great performances, too. Just take that young man in St. Louis, and that kid on the mound in New York, and that youngster like myself in Houston. From all of us in the family of baseball to all you families who cheered for us, Thank you for sharing a great season.
Major League Baseball, a family tradition. Share it all.
The Dodgers are leading 8-1, and I'd like to play catcher, okay? This is my mitt.
Right.
This is my hand.
Right.
And I'm going to go down and give a sign with it. But instead of doing this and this and this, I'm going to go, what am I doing?
You're saying to the pitcher, flipping, moving back.
Question I want to know. Sachs was almost buried 0-2 by Andujar.
Yes.
We didn't see it as far as the nation is concerned, but Daly had a pretty good shot 0-2 against Mike Scioscia. They're more than purpose pitches when you're trailing 8-1. Maybe Whitey's trying to wake up his own club.
Well, I think he's trying to do that. He's also trying to send a message to the Dodgers saying, hey, we might be 2 down if you win this game, but we're not laying over and playing dead and falling asleep.
Did I do it right?
Yes, you did.
Thumb popped out of the fist?
They're perfect.
Okay.
You'd be a good knockdown catcher. You'd get knocked down a little bit yourself doing that.
If they could catch me.
They'd catch you.
He'd catch me. Willie, aboard on an error, singled and grounded out. Fouled away, the count 1-1. Here's the pitch that you did not see because of the importance of the news story out of Washington. But watch this. He and Sachs really got it close. Landro was just an inside pitch. As I sit safely up here looking down.
No, you were accurate. Landro was, it just happened to be in the neighborhood, and he was going to make sure he got out of there. But Sachs and Scioscia, you can bet that was an overnight delivery. I mean, the message got there.
Interesting, in the 2 games up to this moment, Coleman and McGee have 2 hits in 15 at-bats. So the Dodgers have been able to keep them off the base paths for now. Backhanded by Madlock. Got him.
Madlock has been a different ball player since he left the Pittsburgh Pirates, I'll tell you that. Not only his hitting, his base running, his fielding, that is really a major league play. And he gets a tough man, McGee.
You know what's really, well, look at it again, but I'll tell you something that I think is really incredible.
That ball's by him and he gets it.
You know, you're throwing out the league's leading hitter, right? The best switch hitter for one season in the history of the National League. Madlock making a brilliant play to get him. But here's the thing that's interesting. Willie McGee has had 59 at-bats against the Dodgers this year. And he's the league's leading hitter. They haven't walked him once. In 59 at-bats. You'd think somewhere along the line they'd say, well, we better be careful. They've been pitching right at him.
Last night, Fernando just went right at him and then really neutralized him with the breaking ball. Remember, he struck him out on that screwball way out of the strike zone.
He's hitting about 275 against the Dodgers, maybe even less than that now. That's about 75 points below his average against the league. So you can understand why Willie was quoted as saying, the toughest pitches for me are all the Dodgers starters. They have really done a number on him.
He uses the word consistency. He said they are consistent.
Tommy Hurd doubled, walked, grounded out. And he fists one over third, slicing down the line, foul. Anderson in pursuit. By the way, we get a report on Mariano Duncan. And if you've been with us since the start of the game, it comes as no surprise. He has a bruised right ankle from the foul ball. And it's an abrasion. Actually, he was spiked on the left knee. And Duncan doubled in the 6th inning and would have been an easy triple for him otherwise. And they opted to take him out. So he'll have the last 3 innings tonight and all of Friday to heal. Here's Tommy Hurd with the count 2-2. Fouled away. That reminds me of a line I read somewhere upside. When you go to heaven, God doesn't check you for medals or honors or degrees. He looks for scars. 2 balls and 2 strikes to Tommy Hurd. Jack Clark on deck. We'll see you good folks in St. Louis on Saturday with that 414 feet away center field fence. 1 hopper right at Sachs. 2 down. Friends, this telecast is presented by authority of Major League Baseball and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form without the express written consent of Major League Baseball. And I doubt they will get any letters requesting it with a Missouri postmark.
Well, both series will go back to Missouri, Kansas City and Toronto, and Kansas City, and of course the Cardinals and Dodgers. So that I-70 World Series will have to start heat up that fever that they were talking about.
Another thing to point out now, late in the game about Hershiser, he is now doing what he normally does at the outset of a good game. He is starting to get ground balls. Of the last 6 outs, he's gotten 5 ground balls and a strikeout. The strikeout was Porter. Ball 1. Jack Clark has struck out, grounded out, singled. When he got that base hit in the 6th inning, it made him 1 for 11 against Hershiser this year. 2-0.
Oddly enough, it's the base on balls that really made him stagger and bounce around on that mound. That base on balls is just no defense.
2-0. Ground foul outside of third. Hal Lanier to handle it. 2-1. The count of Jack Clark. Ball 3. Tough night for Whitey Herzog on the right and his red Shandeens. Breaking ball away. And that puts Jack Clark aboard with the walk. 4th walk given up by Orel Hershiser.
Right fielder.
So he's pretty much balancing his books. 4 strikeouts, 4 walks. And with 2 out, Andy Van Slyke. Ground ball to Brock. So they will leave Jack Clark at first. And at the end of 7½, Dodgers 8, Cardinals 1. Jeff Lottie. If nothing else, and you might say, why in the world would Lottie be brought in an 8-1 game? Herzog has to get his men sharp. You have to make the most out of a bad game. And Jeff Lottie has had a big year. In fact, he is one of the chairman of the board of that committee that they have. Lottie with 19 saves. So with tomorrow being an off day, they don't want him to just rust. And Jeff is in there. Last night, they used Daly, Campbell, and Worrell. Tonight, Horton, Campbell, Daly, and now Lottie.
And getting into a pressure game, regardless of the score tonight, the league championship series is always extra involved, and getting them in that first one is always a big step, and that's another factor in getting Lottie in there.
1-2 the count of Jeff. And that takes care of Hershiser. So Hershiser strikes out, 1 away. And Dave Anderson, who came into the game for the injured Mariano Duncan. To repeat, Duncan bruised on the foot or ankle, also a cut knee where he was spiked. He came out. And a reminder, Game 3 of the American League Championship, the Blue Jays in Kansas City. That'll be 8 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, with the Jays leading 2-0. Well, Missouri's the show-me state, so they're just about ready to show, huh?
Yep.
Ozzie gobbles it up and then throws, but Clark just does stay on the bag. Boy, I tell you what, big league first basemen are marvelous at moving around the bag.
Yeah, you had a guy in Brooklyn and Los Angeles for a while. It was the master, was that Gil Hodges. Gil would catch a ball in right field and they'd call him out.
And keep that straight face.
And somehow the umpire thought his foot was on the bag.
Clark really gave it a little walk in the country on that throw by Ozzie. 2 down, and here's Landro. It is 8-1 Dodgers. To look ahead, the Cardinals will have Terry Pendleton, Darrell Porter, and Ozzie Smith. Landro, in playing tonight, struck out in the first inning, but in the 3rd inning, and we were pointing the fact they were holding Hershiser on. The first pitch by Andujar was a strike on the outside part of the plate, and we felt, okay, they're going to pitch him away. And they came right back away, and he doubled to left center field to drive in Hershiser. He also doubled in the 5th inning, and he walked. So Landro's had a big night. He's 2 for 3. 8 runs, 11 hits for the Dodgers, 1 run, 6 hits for the Cardinals. Saturday, Bob Welch and Danny Cox. Ground ball up the middle. So Landro comes up with his 3rd hit, plus a walk. And hits comes Bill Madlock. Madlock had struck out in the first inning, singled to drive in Landro in the third, flied to center in the fifth, and then came in against Campbell and singled to drive in a run in the sixth. Tough play for Lottie. He's got to get a high bounce, and he didn't get it. That's the difference playing on grass. If he's at home, that ball comes up to him quicker, and he'll get Madlock. But on grass, it's more like a poached egg. It just hit, and it didn't come back up high enough. And he had to go down and get it with two hands, and that took too much time, even for a fella who doesn't run that well.
The infielders even experiment with that. They'll take a ball at shoulder level, drop it. Here on grass, it'll go maybe halfway up your leg, but on artificial surface, it'll go past your belt.
Madlock will now give way to Bob Baylor, who will run for him and finish up at third base. Will have a new left side of the infield. Anderson took over for Duncan. Madlock with a big night tonight. 3 hits and a couple of ribbies. He's hitting .600 is Guerrero as he climbs in the series. Ball 1. High fly ball to dead center. Back goes McGee. Away back to the wall. He's got it. No runs, 2 hits as Pedro tried to flex his muscles. 8-1 Dodgers. 9th inning, Dodgers 8, Cardinals 1. Terry Pendleton, Darrell Porter, and Ozzie Smith against Orel Hershiser, and Bob Baylor now at third base for Bill Madlock.
Socha's not taking anything for granted. Be alive for the bunt. If nothing else, the hitter hears that, and if he's thinking about it, he has to wonder.
There's a ball loose in the bullpen, so timeout while they retrieve it. The big shock, I think, things did not work out the way the experts had it analyzed, and certainly was it brought to the fore in the first inning tonight.
Yes, sir.
Line drive, base hit. Looked like Pendleton almost hit that off his ear. A single to left to open up the 9th. And it'll be the first hit since Clark singled leading off the 6th. And before that, a single by Ozzie Smith in the 4th.
And that's one of the few balls in the last couple innings that Hershiser has gotten up. He's been getting the ground ball, and he's been throwing that good sinker.
Darrell Porter has walked, grounded to second, and struck out. 0 for 2. Ball 1, 1-0. 2-0. One other thing for the Cardinals, in fact, 2 things. The fact that Danny Cox is going to pitch on Saturday. Down in the bullpen, Bob Forsch is loosening up. And I don't think he's loosening up for extra innings. Remember, we talked to you about the question has to be in St. Louis, are you going to come back with a slumping Joaquin Andujar? Or if you are forced, would you come back with Bob Forsch on Sunday? Well, he's throwing perhaps in between starts. 3-0 pitch. And you want to know something about Danny Cox. Remember, we talked about quality starts. That great statistic first thought up by John Lowe of the Philadelphia Inquirer. Cox was the 3rd best starter in the league as far as quality starts are concerned. So Hershiser with runners at first and second. Number 34, Danny Cox. The only pitchers who made more quality starts were Dwight Gooden and John Tudor. And as we said, with 18 victories, he would have been the leading winner on 15 major league teams this year. So the Dodgers are going to see another dandy on Saturday, and Tommy Lasorda is going to see his pitcher.
I think he's about had it with Hershiser, who's been just flirting with the danger all night long. We saw Cedeno on the Cardinal bench try to loosen up, maybe come on as a pinch hitter here. And Lasorda, even though he's got a 7-run lead, he's not about to fool around, wants to find out what's going on.
Throw the ball over the plate, will you?
That's all I want you to do. I could read that.
Yeah, and you left out part of it.
I left out one word.
Is that only one word?
Yeah.
No, that's hyphenated, isn't it?
Yeah,
that's right.
He used it as an adjective.
or a dangling participle. Throw the ball over the plate, will you?
And that's what managers usually tell you. You think it's big strategy. It's not.
Right. Ozzie Smith with 2 singles and grounded out. He's 2 for 3. All of his home runs in his career have come as a right-handed batter, so he doesn't usually get you rich in a hurry from this side of the plate. Ground foul, 0-2. Ozzie has grounded into 13 double plays this year, and the odd part is 10 of the 13 he was a left-handed hitter. That's just when you don't think he'll do it. To Brock, to Anderson, and too late to Hershiser. Taking third is Pendleton. The executive producer of NBC Sports, Michael Weissman. The coordinating producer of baseball, Harry Coyle. Tonight's game produced by George Finkel, directed by Harry Coyle, technical director Ray Figelski.
Batting for line, number 19.
Mike Jorgensen coming up with 1 out in the 9th inning. 8-1 Dodgers. Strike. It will be interesting now to see if the Cardinals will go out with a bang or a whimper. Remember, we've been talking about the dramatic difference between the two teams. The Dodgers, hitting with runners in scoring position, have done it 5 times in 10 opportunities, plus 4 walks. The Cardinals have not gotten a base hit. They're 0 for 6 with a runner in scoring position, and they have Pendleton at third right now with 1 out. Hit in the air to Marshall. He'll be coming up, and one-hands it, and there will not be a play. Not when you're down by 7.
Pendleton at third base thought it was going to drop in, and the ball was not hit hard. He hit it off the handle, and he kind of broke in and broke back. It's insignificant, but you can see now. Watch. He doesn't know what to do. He thinks he's going to go. Now it's too late, and there's no sense taking any chances. But if he had any intention of scoring, as soon as the ball's hit, you go back to the bag.
Sure.
If it's a base hit, you walk in. But 8-1, what's the difference?
So 2 down in the 9th inning, and at least on that swing, the Cardinals still have not been able to come up with that hit to the man in scoring position. And here's Coleman. Single, grounded out 3 times. Big bouncer foul. Remember that combined average is certainly one of the big reasons why the Cardinals find themselves where they are. In the first 2 games, Whitey Herzog has seen Vince Coleman and Willie McGee hit for a combined average of 125. Can't go far on a half a buck's worth of gas. Strike. 0-2. This crowd of 55,222 on its feet. Hit off the glove of Hershiser, deflected to Sachs, who throws too late, and Pendleton scores. So it'll be a base hit off Hershiser's glove. And the Cardinals finally go 1 for 8 in getting a man in from scoring position. Two runs and 8 hits for the Cardinals. Dodgers lead 8-2. And here's Willie McGee. Aboard on the error by Duncan. Single to left. Grounded out twice. The last time Madlock took an extra base hit away from him. Ground ball hard to Sachs. And he goes to Brock. Dodger Stadium is a kennel club with Bulldog, as they call Hershiser, and Glad Dog, as they call Madlock. And the Birds file slowly out of the dugout and hope to get well at home. And remember, they have the best record at home in the National League. We'll be back after this. Hershiser stifled the Cardinals.
And we talked about if he had his good stuff, he'd get a lot of ground balls. He didn't have great stuff, but good enough because he had 16 ground balls, 5 flyouts, 2 caught stealing, 4 strikeouts. So 3-1 ground out over fly balls. Good enough to win, then.
Indeed, and tonight's NBC Light Beer from Miller Player of the Game is Orel Hershiser. Light Beer from Miller is happy to present a check for $1,000 in the name of Orel Hershiser to help fight multiple sclerosis. Not only did he pitch well, remember he tried to squeeze on successive pitches. Now he gets a squeeze from Tommy Lasorda because with 2 strikes.